Hi, this is Heather with the Old Schoolhouse, and this is the history of homeschooling. With me today is Trish Hutchins of Homeschoolers of Maine. Thank you so much for joining me today, Trish.
Thank you for having me, Heather. It's really nice to see you.
You too. I would love for you to just tell us a little bit about Homeschoolers of Maine and your involvement with the organization.
Sure. Homeschoolers of Maine is the state of Maine's original and premier homeschool support organization. It was started 35 years ago by Ed and Kathy Green, and they are still currently serving with Homeschoolers of Maine. They've been very consistent, and the whole state kind of owes the existence of Homeschoolers of Maine to Ed and Kathy. And in the 35 years since then, we, of course, have had hundreds of workers and volunteers join the state organization. So we work to preserve, protect, and promote homeschooling in our state. And as we know, it is always has been a need to have a state organization to support homeschooling families, but it is increasingly becoming so as more and more people live in Maine and more people decide to homeschool.
So, can you maybe give some specific examples of how home will help homeschoolers in your state?
Sure. So we get a lot of contacts from people, first of all, who have young children who are starting to think about their educational options. So these families may contact homeschoolers of Maine if they're thinking about home education to ask what the requirements are or how they might get started or how they can be sure they're getting the appropriate materials or curricula for their children. And we also hear from a lot of people who are moving to Maine from other states. So they may be new to homeschooling from that state, or they may have homeschooled in another state but need to homeschool in the state of Maine now, and the requirements can be slightly different. We also hear often from families who have had their children enrolled in what we would consider more traditional schooling environments, but that's no longer working for them, and they would like to explore home education. So we answer questions from families of all types. We serve everyone who comes to us. All comers can get support from Homeschoolers of Maine. And we've seen a lot of success with families being able to start homeschooling, whether their kids are young or whether their kids are almost ready to graduate from high school, whether the kids have special needs or they're advanced or gifted. And a lot of kids are a mix of all these things. So we found homeschooling to be a really neat way to meet the needs of each individual student. So it's really been amazing to see how many different families have found a great deal of success addressing the kids' educational needs at home.
That is so good. I love that your organization, it'll help those who have been homeschooling a while, but maybe they're just brand new to the state and they need to know the laws and the rules and just how homeschooling works in Maine. But then also, people pulling their kids out from other situations. How do we get
Yeah.
started? And you have resources available for them.
Yes, there's a website for Homeschoolers of Maine, homescholersofmaine.org, and it's a huge website. There are many links to click through and articles and resources on there. There's also a page on there under Contact Us where you can find a regional representative from your Maine county. So you could contact the leader who's closest to you to ask for resources that may be local to you or activities or extracurricular options for your kids in your particular area. And Homeschoolers of Maine also offers copies of all the paperwork you would need to submit to the state. There's a page on standardized testing. There's links to how can you do an end of year assessment if you choose a portfolio review. And Homeschoolers of Maine has certified teachers on staff who can answer questions or look over a
Wow.
year's progress. And Homeschoolers of Maine can really streamline that process and make it just much less intimidating, although it really is very simple to begin with. We're fortunate in the state of Maine to have fairly few regulations on homeschoolers, and so it's very easy to meet the requirements on us, but some of us like having someone alongside as we're doing it, especially for the first few times. So
Mhm.
Homeschoolers of Maine offers support for all of those things.
I love that. And you're using the resources of those who've gone before us and have done it and have graduated their kids, and they can just walk you through it. I love that you have those resources available. So, could you possibly share with us, a quick word of advice for somebody brand new to homeschooling? And maybe this is their first year and it's been a month or so. Do you have any advice for them?
Sure, that's a great question, Heather. And I guess the first thing I would say is that your home education experience is meant to be a match for your specific child. So you may have a child that thrives on doing something that would look like a traditional school environment at home and everyone's at the table and you have workbooks. And some children really enjoy that sense of accomplishment and they can see as they fill out the pages they're accomplishing their work, and that's a great fit. Other families decide that they would like to homeschool to avoid those kind of requirements. They have a child who's a little more physically active or who may have other needs, or they run a family business, or they have a family farm and they want to incorporate their educational experience into those things. So, homeschooling, I would say, first of all, should meet the needs of your family. You want to do it so that you set your children up for success and what that means for your particular family. It may be training them for your family business, maybe training them to run their own business, to enter the military, to enter the workforce, to go to college and university. So, you want to be able to decide for yourselves, this is what would serve my child the best, and just feel free to do that. We see homeschooling families from many different backgrounds, and all of them are seeing success. Very few of them look like each other in the way
Mm.
they implement their academic program, but that is okay. You don't need to look at what everyone else is doing and feel you need to keep up with what another family may choose is best for them. You can choose what's best for you. And there's a lot of flexibility in a homeschool program for you to be able to meet the needs of your particular student or students. The second thing I would say is there's a lot of support available. Homeschoolers of Maine obviously offers support. You can get curriculum counseling or other kinds of counseling related to issues around homeschooling. We have experts on staff who can help with special needs or with high school guidance counselor kind of questions. But
Wow.
also, you can find online support groups, there's Facebook groups, there's online forums, there's online classes, there's curriculum written by experts in their field that you can have delivered right to your door that's ready for you to open and go. So there are a lot of resources available if you feel like I'm not really sure how to get started with this on my own. And if you want more information about how to find the wider world of homeschool support, you can always reach out to Homeschoolers of Maine and we'll be able to point you in a few directions and see if we can get you started so that you feel confident in your homeschooling journey.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Is there a specific web address that we can send them to?
Sure, homeschoolersofmaine.org. It's an extensive website. There's tons of stuff on it. So I will say sometimes when I want to look a specific page up, I might just Google Homeschoolers of Maine standardized test or Homeschoolers of Maine letter of intent or Homeschoolers of Maine contact us, and it'll bring that page directly to you. Then you don't have to click through the website to find it. But if you have time, take a look at the website. There's a lot of resources available on there, all for free.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time on History of Homeschooling.